Yo, what is up, everyone? You know me, see me, man. Mario Fan 520. I am so excited today. You don't even know how excited I am because I decided today I'm going to be ranking all Disney Pixar movies from worst to best. Yes, I have seen every Pixar movie, including Coco. I'm doing this because, there's an upcoming Incredibles 2 movie, which is another Pixar movie, and cannot wait to see this. It's going to be amazing. And I decided, I love Pixar. I love Disney. I love a lot of things. So I decided to rank all the Pixar movies. I've seen every single Pixar movie. And I'm going to rank them from my least favorite all the way to my really, really, really favorite. My best one. Okay, so there are 19 Pixar movies. We're starting up from number 19 and we're going up all the way to number 1. Let's get started with this. So excited. So coming up at number 19 is the movie that might be on most people's least favorite rankings of Disney movies. Cars 2. Now, I'm going to be honest. Cars 2 is not a terrible movie, but it's not good or great. It's just alright. Reasons for this is this doesn't actually feel like a Pixar movie. And it's really different compared to the other Cars movies like Cars 1 and 3. This movie revolves not really about racing. It doesn't really focuses on the cars actually. It's just spy stuff. And I found that to kind of be bland and pushed away and stuff like that. And it kind of it didn't work. It didn't really work for the Cars franchise because the first Cars movie was involved with racing. That was a thrill ride. This movie was just spies and stuff like that. And they took away the main character, Lightning McQueen, and they put Mater as the main character. I mean, what? I mean, and Cars 2 was not a terrible movie. It just doesn't really work when you compare it with Pixar movies. That's just me, at least. But coming in at number 18, we have probably one of Pixar's most underrated movies, The Good Dinosaur. The Good Dinosaur isn't a terrible movie at all. I think a lot of people go overboard with hating movies like The Good Dinosaur. The Good Dinosaur is a good movie. It is. It's just not one of Pixar's best movies. Surprisingly, this is Pixar's lowest grossing movie, actually. And this movie came out the same year another one of Pixar's movies came out, Inside Out, I believe. This movie was sometime released near Thanksgiving. The Good Dinosaur has a charming enough story where you can connect with characters. Great animation. It has fantastic animation, but sometimes the dinosaurs look too goofy compared to the background scenery. The story is relatable and stuff like that. It's a really good movie to show to kids. I don't really think adults would much care for this movie, but kids will have a blast watching this movie. The Good Dinosaur is a good movie. It's just definitely not one of Pixar's best. Alright, number 17 on my list is Brave. Okay, so the first time I heard about Brave, I thought it would be, something like a Legend of Zelda movie, because that's what it kind of looked like. Brave is a really good movie. I loved this movie. I really do. I think the connections are really relatable. Sometimes, I think there are a couple of times where the story does drag a little bit. Some people were saying this movie was probably one of this is probably Pixar's worst movie. No, this is not actually Pixar's worst movie. It's somewhere in the low category, definitely. It's definitely an underrated movie in Pixar. But this movie is not bad. It's a solid story. Merida is a good enough character, and the relationship between her and her mother, and stuff that happened, which I'm not going to spoil just in case any of you've seen Brave, haven't seen Brave. But anyway, Brave is a good enough story, and it has some key heart moments to it and stuff like that. And I think kids will get a kick out of this movie. So anyway, number 16 on my list is Cars 3. So after seeing Cars 2, I wasn't really over-pumped for seeing Cars 3. I didn't really much care for Cars 3 after I saw Cars 2. Honestly, when I saw Cars 3, I was surprised. I was actually surprised that this movie was actually better than the second. This might actually be an improvement to the Cars franchise. And I was like, wow, it actually had a really good story. And it went back to its racing routes. That's one of the things that I really, really liked about this movie. They focused on Lightning McQueen. Mater wasn't usually in the movie that much often. And they gave Lightning McQueen a trainer. And no surprise, she wanted to become a racer herself. And I think that really punched the story really great. And that saved the Cars franchise from getting inside a hole that they couldn't really escape out of. But anyway, number 15 on my list is a movie that I actually find underrated in the universe of Pixar. And that is Monsters University. I love Monsters, Inc. and I love Monsters University. Some people don't really much care for Monsters University, and I can see why it's low on their list. Even though it's low on my list, Monsters University is not a bad movie or an okay movie. It's better than that. I think this movie is great. It has art, and it really goes the events that happened before Monsters, Inc. and stuff like that. How Mike and Sully met each other and how they became friends and joined the scare games and stuff like that. It's a really good story. Billy Crystal is great in this movie. John Goodman is really good in this movie. It has a really great message and stuff like that. Mike Wazowski is my favorite Pixar character of all time. It was great to see him in another movie, and I hope they make other movies about these characters. I really do. Monsters University was a treat. But anyway, coming in at number 14 is Cars, the very first Cars. Now, I remember seeing the first Cars movie back in 2006. I think that's when the movie came out. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because I believe the movie came out in 2006. But I remember seeing this movie in 2006, and my uncle taking me to see it. I absolutely love this movie. I still love Cars today. It's such a great movie. Just like the other ones, though, it's not really one of Pixar's best movies. It's really great, though. Pixar tried at its best to make this movie. I'll have to say, the animation is really well done. This is the first movie where we get introduced to Lightning McQueen and stuff like that. And he's such a very likable character. Such a very likable character. And I think the relationship between him and Mater and all the other characters in this movie is actually pretty fun to see, if you don't mind me asking. And honestly, I wouldn't really say, like, again, this is not one of Pixar's best movies. But if you don't really look at Cars as a Pixar movie and enjoy it for what it is, you'll have a blast with this movie. It's such a great movie. It really is. Now, coming in at number 13 is another Pixar movie that I really find underrated. Finding Dory. This movie was released like recently, and it's one of Pixar's most recent movies. And it's definitely one of its most underrated. I really don't see why some people didn't really enjoy Finding Dory. Finding Dory was a great movie, honestly. It was very charming. Dory is a very interesting character in this movie, a lot more interesting than she was in the first movie. And the things that she wanted to do, like when she remembered that she basically had a family in this incredible journey that her and Marlin and Nemo have to experience, basically. It's very exciting to see all of this stuff happen and meeting new friends along the way. I actually thought this was Pixar's actual effort to making a really great movie, especially for a sequel. And I didn't think this movie was going to be that great, but this movie really did surprise me. It's not as good as the original Finding Nemo in my opinion. It's still highly watchable, and this movie does not deserve to be underrated. And coming in at number 12 is a movie that I personally grew up watching as a little kid, A Bug's Life. Now, this is another underrated Pixar movie. When you talk about Pixar, people will usually mention movies like Toy Story, or Monsters, Inc., or WALL-E, or The Incredibles, or something like that. A Bug's Life is one of Pixar's underrated. And yes, I did say underrated. I love A Bug's Life. This movie revolves around real-world events like slavery and stuff like that. How the grasshoppers think that they take control over the ants and stuff like that. And then Flick has to get warriors, but he accidentally ends up getting circus bugs. You guys know the plot to this movie. I'm pretty sure everyone's seen A Bug's Life before. Even if it's underrated, it really is a solid story, and it's so charming, and I love the characters and the plot to this movie. There's really nothing to hate about movies like this, even if it is underrated. And even though it might not be one of those Pixar movies that a lot of people grew up watching, I grew up watching and loving A Bug's Life, and I'll stay loving this movie forever. And I think I'm pretty sure this is Pixar's second movie after Toy Story, which was released in 1995, and A Bug's Life came out in 98, I'm pretty sure. Along with another movie that came out in 98 called Ants, which is also about bugs, so that's interesting. But I hold respect, really, really big respect for A Bug's Life. It's one of my all-time favorite animated films, and probably one of my all-time favorite films in general. I don't just look at animated films as something else. I look at animated films as films. Just films. I love movies, and A Bug's Life does not deserve to be one of Pixar's underrated. I think many people go too overboard on thinking that some movies should be underrated. A Bug's Life deserves the love in Pixar. It really does. But number 11 is Toy Story 2. Now, I love all the Toy Story movies. I actually think that the only perfect franchise in Pixar is Toy Story. So far, none of the Toy Story movies are bad. It's almost impossible for these movies to be bad. The Toy Story movies are the movies that started Pixar. They are. And each Toy Story movie gets better and better and better. Next year we're getting Toy Story 4. Let's see if that'll be better than Toy Story 3. But Toy Story 2 was a very fun experience. It really lived up to the original Toy Story and stuff like that. And the characters were very interesting. Woody, Jessie, Prospector, Buzz Lightyear returned and stuff like that. The story is really strong, and it's really fun too. It's such a fun thrill ride. You just can't really hate movies like Toy Story 2. And yeah, I have to say, Pixar really did it. This is not one of Pixar's most emotional movies, but it is a blast. It is definitely one of Pixar's best. I wouldn't say top 5 best or top 10, but it's one of Pixar's best. Okay, now we're getting into the number 10 spot. Number 10 is another movie that I personally grew up with, and it has to be one of my all-time favorite sci-fi movies, and that is WALL-E. WALL-E is actually, I believe, Pixar's first movie without the main character having any use of dialogue and having him show his what he says throughout emotions and expressions. I thought that was clever. WALL-E surprised the living heck out of me. This movie was so highly emotional and so highly effective. The character of WALL-E and the relationship between him and Eve is some of the most charming things I've seen in any movie and any animated movie, and the story fits really well, and it connects with Earth and stuff like that. It's just an amazing movie. If you haven't seen this movie, you're probably not alive. Now, number 9 is another Pixar movie that I grew up on. I'm telling you, I technically grew up on Pixar. Pixar is basically my childhood, so I technically grew up on all of these movies. Number 9 is a movie that I actually really enjoyed watching, Up. So I remember seeing this movie for the first time in IMAX 3D. My uncle took me. It was really fun. I love this movie. This is definitely one of Pixar's most random and original movies, and I love it for that. Because who would ever think about a movie about a man and a house, and he goes to South America, traveling to South America with this kid and this dog and this weird bird or whatever. I think that, yeah. And then he takes his house by using thousands of balloons in the sky and stuff like that, and he travels to South America to get to Paradise Falls or something like that. The story is really good, honestly. And I know it sounds ridiculous if you haven't seen the movie. It's not. It's really, really fun. I really did enjoy Up. It's definitely one of Pixar's best attempts. No doubt about it. This is one of Pixar's best. And I love it for that. It has really engaging characters. It's funny at moments. Sometimes it can be too wacky, but you can't help it. This movie is just fun. Now, number 8 is a movie that I think really started Pixar for me. When I was really young at that age, this is one of the movies that got me into Pixar. Ratatouille. This movie is fantastic. What else is there to say? This movie proves that you can be anything, no matter what you are. If you're a little goldfish or a dog or a bird, you can be whatever the heck you want. Remy is a rat who chooses to be a chef. And he meets this guy named Linguini, and he helps him by controlling him, literally mind controlling him while getting under his cap. It's smart. It really is. This story is so clever. It's not just about a rat who wants to cook things. This movie makes you feel that you can do anything, no matter what you are, or anyone can do anything, basically. And I love this movie for that. It gives me the idea that I can be a filmmaker, and the characters that are in this movie, even though the majority of them could be rats sometimes, they're really, really funny and likable, and stuff like that. And this movie is just so much fun. It really is. It's one of my favorites. Definitely check it. If you guys haven't seen this, check it out. Please check it out. Please. Because by now, if you haven't, what are you doing? This movie's probably 11 years old, I think. I'm pretty sure this was released in 2007, 07, I think. Yeah. But Ratatouille is one of Pixar's best. Definitely. Oh my god, I love this movie so much. Now, coming in at number 7, we have Inside Out. This movie was actually such a random movie that literally popped out of nowhere. The idea of emotions in a movie is genius. Riley, this young girl, is experiencing problems in her life after she moves from Minnesota all the way down to San Francisco and stuff like that. Her life is basically horrible there, and these emotions, joy and sadness and fear and disgust and anger, we get to see them interact inside Riley's head. The journey that they go through and stuff like that. This is a movie that Pixar has never done before, and I'm pretty sure they'll never do again. This movie is fantastic, and I've been seeing reviews for this movie on IMDb.com. Why do people hate this movie? This movie was everything that a Pixar movie should have been. This movie reminded me of the old days of Pixar, when Pixar was smart, clever, and it was for children and the entire family. This movie is for the entire family. This movie is so beautiful looking. And yes, I did almost cry in this movie. I almost cried in this movie. I really did. This movie does get emotional, considering that it's the emotions, feeling emotions. How does that even happen? I mean, oh my gosh. Oh, this movie is fantastic. Okay, now coming in at number 6 is Pixar's most recent movie. You guys know what it is. It's obviously Coco. Coco is one of Pixar's most powerful movies ever. And I'm saying this from the heart. This movie surprised the heck out of me. Probably a lot more than Inside Out did. And I'm saying this as an honest person. I love Coco. This movie made me cry twice. No other Pixar movie has made me cry. There are Pixar movies that almost made me cry, but no other Pixar movie has done that to me. Coco is just such a charming story. Miguel is such an amazing character. And this movie proves that nothing is more important than family. Not music. Nothing. Nothing is more important than family. No matter how hard you try to follow your passion, nothing will ever be more important than family. Coco succeeded on that message. Now we're getting to the top 5 movies, which I would consider the gold movies of Pixar. Number 5 is Toy Story 3. Alright, so Toy Story 3 was a very surprising sequel. This is what Pixar needed, basically. This is the movie that Pixar needed, and we got it. And after Toy Story 2, it's been a while for them to make a sequel. Thank God the Toy Story movies didn't die yet, because we're still getting Toy Story 4 next year. Toy Story 3 was a blast. I loved this movie when I first saw it. Still love it today. I don't care how old I am. I will never get bored of Toy Story. I will never get bored of any of the Toy Story movies. You can show me the Toy Story movies when I'm like 83 years old and I'll still love them. That's how good the Toy Story movies are good to me. And I love Toy Story 3. It's such an amazing story, and it shows you, and it revolves around the story of Andy growing up and stuff like that. And the toys think they're probably going to get taken away to another place, or maybe even thrown out. And the idea of the storyline is just mind-boggling, and it's just such an amazing movie. Oh my god. The Toy Story movies are such a strong delivery in Pixar, and they always will be. Toy Story 3 has proven us that. And number 4 is probably one of my first Pixar movies I've seen, considering this movie came out when I was 1 year old. A year old! Finding Nemo. Alright. Finding Nemo is a very special movie to me. I've seen this movie non-stop. I don't even know how many times I've seen this movie. It's so much fun to watch. It is so much fun to watch. I love the character of Marlin and Dory and Nemo and stuff like that. I've watched this movie ever since I was a baby, and I still love it to this very day. It's such an effective film in the Pixar universe. One of Pixar's earliest films, too. And it's such a great experience. It's such a fun adventure. On Marlin and Dory, they have to go find Nemo and stuff like that. But as the movie progresses, you never really get bored and stuff like that. These characters are just so interesting, including Dory. Even though she has a really, really huge short-term memory loss and stuff like that, you can still relate to these characters. And this is just a fantastic movie to show to the entire family, especially if you love Pixar. Or animated movies in general. Now, coming in at number 3 is one of Pixar's earliest movies, and this is another one that I grew up on. Monsters, Inc. Alright, Monsters, Inc. It has to be Pixar's most original movie, because you have movies like the Toy Story movies, and Toys Exist and stuff like that, and Fish and Finding Nemo and Fish and stuff exist and stuff like that, and Cars and stuff. This movie revolves around monsters, and what would it be like if monsters had their own incorporation? How did the monsters get in our closet? Oh, that explains it. They have their own incorporation. And this entire movie is just funny, flat out funny. Mike Wazowski is hilarious in this movie. He's my all-time favorite Pixar character. Sully in this movie is amazing. The character of Boo is so adorable in this movie. Randall is a really great villain in this movie. And Monsters, Inc. is just a great time. And it's definitely one of Pixar's best, and stuff like that. It's impossible for this to be one of Pixar's worst. This movie is so fun. It is just so fun. It's an amazing family thrill ride, and kids and adults are going to get a kick out of this movie. This movie has something for the Pixar universe, and it still holds that special something today for the Pixar universe. Monsters, Inc. is a great time. Coming in at number 2 is the movie that started Pixar, Toy Story. Now, I have a lot of respect for Toy Story. This movie isn't just a kid's film. Adults will really enjoy this film too. This movie, for a movie about toys, this movie is surprisingly mature about its humor. This movie is amazing. Toy Story, I believe, is the first computer animated movie ever made. I'm pretty sure. And it started off the genre strong. It really, really did. Toy Story is gold. There's nothing wrong with this movie. It's so perfect. You just can't hate on this movie, especially if it's the movie that started Pixar. I have a lot of respect for Toy Story. The characters are so likable, and the story is really, really well solid and stuff like that. And the voice acting is incredible in this movie, honestly. And the themes are really, really well utilized. Toy Story is an animated masterpiece. Number 1, my favorite Pixar movie of all time, The Incredibles. You can obviously tell. It's written on my shirt. Look right here. Now, I've seen a lot of movies. A lot of Pixar movies, a lot of action movies, a lot of everything movies. The Incredibles holds a special place for me. It is my favorite Pixar movie of all time, for so many reasons. It is not just a superhero movie. In fact, I don't think many people will actually call this a superhero movie. I know the family is super and stuff like that, but this movie revolves around family and how the Parr family is struggling because they're under the law of no supers are allowed to like use any of their powers or anything like that and stuff like that. And they're basically struggling to, and Bob, or Mr. Incredible, basically is struggling to get back in business and get back in action and stuff like that. Apparently one, he's keeping a secret from his family and stuff like that. And as we see the rest of this movie progress, the story is, it's just so incredible. Movie is incredible. Everything about this movie I love. I love The Incredibles. It's my favorite Pixar movie of all time, and I'm so excited for The Incredibles 2. Yes, I will be reviewing it, so stay tuned, by the way. But yeah, I love The Incredibles. It's my favorite Pixar movie of all time. Guys, thank you guys so much for watching this, me ranking all my favorite Pixar movies, all the Pixar movies from worst to best. Look forward to other videos that I'll be doing, like movie reviews and stuff like that, other content and stuff like that. You guys are the best. Love every single one of you, and just stay tuned for more videos that I make. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I had a blast making this video, and as always, I am Mario Fan 520, and I will see you next time. Peace out.